For those that don't know me, my name is Alicia Diaz-Pappas, and I am the School Food Project Coordinator at Food for All NB. And I'll be facilitating this event today. And with me in this event, we've got Rawson, who's going to be our tech host, and Himani, who will run the Q&A session for us at the end of the session. So welcome to the second food session or school food session at Loud About Food. In this session, we'll hear from some school food champions in the province that have either pushed through, adapted, or found new opportunities for their school food programs along the rocky COVID-19 trail. So thanks for joining us today. We hope you learned something new, and hopefully you'll find some inspiration for your own programs and projects. Before we begin, there's a few tech logistics to go over. Je vais passer au français pour quelques mots. La session va dérouler en anglais, mais si vous avez besoin, il y a une ligne d'interprétation disponible. Aussi, soyez à l'aise pour discuter avec nous en français, soit dans la boîte de discussion, soit en posant des questions à la fin de la session. So I'll return to English now and allow people the chance to turn on interpretation if they wish. You'll notice the session is being recorded, but only the presenters and those that are spotlighted will be recorded. Only their picture will be recorded. So not to worry if you want to have your camera on. If you have any questions for the speakers, you can leave them in the chat along the presentations, or you can wait until the end to ask your questions. And Rawson will be our tech host. So if you have any tech needs or any problems, you can just send her a message. And finally, before we begin, I'd like to let you know how this session will go. So we've got 4 speakers today, but one of our presenters will have to leave early. So we'll have that group present first. And then we'll have a short Q&A right after that. And then we'll have 2 more presentations and then a Q&A. And then you're going to hear some updates that Food for All has on what we're doing with school food right now and in the near future. So let's begin with the presentations. We have 4 great presenters with us today to share their school food program stories in the face of COVID-19. And I hope you're all looking forward to see some of the hard work that's been going on over the course of the pandemic. So our first presentation is going to be delivered by 2 speakers. So we're very lucky. We've got Laura Meyers here and Chris Rendell. So I'll just read out their introductions to you all. Laura has been teaching in the Hampton area for over 30 years. Over the past few years, she has taught mainly math. And after watching Before the Flood on Earth Day in 2017, she decided it was time to explicitly incorporate climate change into her math classes. The students in her grade 11 class decided they wanted to build a greenhouse, and what developed after that was a sequence of events leading to the Hampton High School greenhouse, the creation of the Climate Action Team, becoming an eco school, being featured by Canadian Geographic, building a food forest, and many other climate action initiatives. Last year, Laura started teaching Environmental Science 120 for the first time, and through this course, she is able to teach a course with a central focus on the environment. Chris Rendell was involved in the creation of the 3 gardening projects in Hampton: Hampton Community Garden in 2010, the Hampton High School Greenhouse in 2017, and the Hampton High School Food Forest in 2019. Chris is currently learning gardening skills and expanding into composting, worm composting, and a number of instrumentation projects. As a volunteer, Chris leads groups of students in various projects in the school garden and greenhouse, and he is an integral part of the work Hampton High School has done to teach students how to grow their own food. So take it away.
Well, thank you very much. That was a long introduction. Sorry, I didn't realize that we were going to be, you're going to be reading that out as an introduction. I would have written it a little bit shorter. Can everybody see my screen here?
Yep, all good.
Yes, okay, great. So my name is Laura Meyers, as Alicia mentioned, and really happy to be here today. I'm a teacher at Hampton High, and I guess we don't really need to say much more about introductions unless, Chris, you want to say something? Maybe you want to just say hi, Chris, so people know that your mic is working.
Sorry, my mic was turned off. My name is Chris and I'm a volunteer at Hampton High.
Okay, so we decided today we talk about COVID and challenges and opportunities during COVID. So it's about food, but a little bit different take on food. You know, I'm just going to apologize in advance. I'm in a school right now. In a couple minutes, the bell's going to ring. If my microphone's on, it's going to sound like a really loud phone ringing, and it's not your phone. So first of all, I guess I wanted to let people know that we are a UNESCO school. Actually, we were the first UNESCO school in New Brunswick, and we are using the sustainable development goals in our classrooms. And obviously a lot of the stuff to do with what we're talking about today has to do with the sustainable development goals, like zero hunger, no poverty, climate action, life on earth. So I wanted to just put those up there first thing for us to remember that these are our goals. And Chris is going to take us over.
It's going to take me a second. So winter is where we begin our presentation. Winter is time for planning, time for starting seeds, deciding what we're going to plant, deciding what we're going to grow, ordering seeds, making a garden plan, and of course, starting seeds indoors. We'll advance the slide. Winter is also a great time for applying for grants. So the last school year, Hampton High School was awarded money from LSF, a Canadian group working out across Canada, but out of Ontario. Also from the Gaia Project and from the Taking It Global program, also known as Rising Youth.
During COVID, of course, one thing we could do was go outside. So COVID, positive thing from COVID is it gave us an excuse to go outside, and we definitely took advantage of going outside, which was great. Chris will tell you some of the things that we did when we went outside last year.
Next slide. So as soon as we started seedlings in the biology lab and in various classrooms, this year we had a lot of teachers who started things in their own classrooms. And then as soon as temperatures permitted, we moved the tender plants into the greenhouse. So the temperatures in there are monitored with a digital system that we recently got running. And we also have the advantage of a 4 foot by 6 foot heated germination bed. And the germination bed, so when the seedlings are small, they need warm heat and they can tolerate cooler air temperatures. Yeah. So the heated germination bed helps a lot with that.
There was just an announcement for about 5 minutes, so I'm really glad that was your turn, Chris. In June, we were able to hold our annual plant sale, which was amazing. We don't have pictures from this year's plant sale, which is strange because it was our biggest plant sale yet. We made over $700, but the picture on the left in the middle was our plant sale from 2 years ago. We weren't able to hold it last year. And the picture on the right are some of the plants that we brought to our plant sale. It was held right here at the school. It was outside. We were able to distance, and the students just really loved selling our plants.
I'm trying to catch up here. So this spring we had many different classes at Hampton High School wanting to get outside, and our garden offers a chance for the students to get outside and do something productive. In these photos, we can see students building raised beds for the garden section of the food forest, and also building beds for the strawberry garden, which was created using a Rising Youth grant.
There was another announcement. This is going to happen a lot, I think, as is a reality of being in schools. This is a picture of our bed from above. Actually, I think I might have missed one, Chris.
You skipped the slide.
I did, and I don't know how to go back. I'm going to have to escape backspace. Let's see if that's working. That's not working. I think I'm going to have to escape. If it'll let me, it won't let me escape, Chris. You're going to have to talk about moving plants to the garden. Actually, yeah, I'll talk about this. I'll talk about moving plants to the garden, and then we'll talk about this one.
Okay.
I'm sorry that you're gonna have to talk about this. It's announced.
So what we have on the screen here is a drone shot of the garden section. So we've got a large fenced area and the food forest and the perennial trees and fruit and apple and fruit trees and bushes, berries, etc. around the periphery. And in the center, we have a garden area which was started last year and completed this year. So we have 6 beds. You can see this was taken in August, I believe, and 6 beds are full of tomatoes and beans and chard and all sorts of fun things. And then this year, with the help of the students in September, we were able to double the size of the garden section. And on the right, sorry, on the left, you can see the 4 beds for the strawberry project and the herb garden in the center of that. And so we've added a 6th strawberry bed, and when the compost, the wood chip pile on the back goes away, that arc is going to continue. And we have a gazebo, and a picnic table. The picnic table was scavenged, and the gazebo was donated, and it's a wonderful place. It makes the garden more engaging and offers a place for the kids to stay when it's crazy hot.
I just love this picture. Chris, remind me of how this drone picture came about. Did you ask him to go take a picture of the garden, or had he already done that?
I just saw a guy who had done drone pictures of Henson, and I asked if he would take some shots of the garden for us.
Cool. Now, the stuff that I wasn't able to click, or I clicked by, was pictures of students that were transplanting plants into the garden. And because of COVID, lots of teachers, as I said, wanted to go outside, and they volunteered their classes to transplant strawberries or tomatoes. So we had lots of different classes sign up. The leadership class especially was really helpful. And Chris would just meet them here, and they would get so much work done. It's amazing how much work 25 teenagers can get done in 1 hour. We try to advance this. Okay, I think I hopefully got this to the right place. So now we're ready to sell the things that we grew, because we had so much in the garden, we couldn't possibly eat it all ourselves. So one of the first things that grows are zucchinis. And if you've ever grown zucchinis, you know, you start by going, I wonder if these zucchinis will ever grow. And then you end up going, there's so many zucchinis, we don't know what to do with them. So we sold some zucchinis just by themselves, and we'll talk about where we sold them after. I made a zucchini loaf one week, which we ended up just kind of giving away to lure people over to our booth. And I made zucchini pesto, which is surprisingly delicious. But then the question came, what to do with all of those tomatoes? So we had so many tomatoes, like hundreds of pounds.
Buckets
and buckets. Yes. We had small tomatoes, we had big tomatoes, we had medium-sized tomatoes, every kind of tomatoes that you could imagine. So what to do with them? Well, our final decision was to make salsa, which was very popular. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But I want to show a couple pictures. Here's an example of, during the summer, we had students coming to work in the garden, and one day it was raining so hard. I said, well, why don't we just go to my house and make salsa? So I had 4 students come to my house and make salsa. This is Maya here, this picture. And it was kind of the start of something pretty great. And you'll see examples of salsa. And in September, when school was back in, our new culinary tech teacher, as a Red Seal chef, actually our former one was too, and he gave students a lesson on how to chop tomatoes properly. And we probably made about 10 liters of salsa every week. That's just a guess. And Chris will tell you about where we sold these things.
So every Thursday afternoon, we had a work day. So the challenge in the summertime is finding ways to keep students engaged when school is closed. Luckily, Hampton now has a weekly farmers market happening on Friday evenings. And the format we used this year was we hosted a work day on Thursday where the students would come and tend the garden and harvest produce and prepare for market the next day. And then on Friday, the students would attend the market. So Laura and I would help transport everything to the garden, and we would help the students get set up. And then Laura and I would head to the coffee shop. And the students ran the booth. The students were volunteering on Thursday in the garden, but they were getting paid on Friday at the market. We covered our expenses first, and then we shared the proceeds with the students. Students were motivated to sell more product. They were paying attention and learning what sold and what did not sell, and they were adjusting what we offered the following week. And obviously that also plays into our planning, which will be for next year, which begins in January. With our second summer of COVID, there were a number of precautions we had to take, particularly with food handling and sampling.
And you see the difference between these two pictures. The one on the left here was before we thought, what do we do with all these tomatoes? And we were basically just selling the tomatoes themselves and the plants, which did okay. There was, I think, one sample of salsa just for them to try. But then you see, as the summer went on, our products, we had more and more salsa. Also, there's a basket of apples here. I think Tuasa is going to present either today or tomorrow. Chris and I are involved with that as well. And they brought down some apples that were picked there that we sold too. So it was kind of a little bit of a partnership. Also, Jill Cormier is on this call, and she was one of the founders of the Lupin Market. So it was kind of cool. Our daughter was too. So Chris says, you know, full disclosure, we're pushing for this market because we love it, but also it's run by family members and loved ones. Now, the salsa reviews were really great. I'm going to try to play this video and hope that the bell doesn't ring in the middle. So it's very short. Let's hear what the people said about the salsa. Hey guys, how's the salsa?
It's delicious.
And as you can tell, that wasn't staged or anything. That ended up going up on Facebook, and we had some people showing up. Hey, we hear your salsa's delicious. Oops, we're gonna hear it again. Hey guys, how's the salsa?
It's delicious.
Sorry, didn't mean to play that again. Hopefully, there we go. I'd like to talk to you just quickly about mental health and the connection between mental health and COVID and going outside. I have a little story to tell you. Sadly, one of the students in our school last year committed suicide very near the end of the year with only 2 days left of school. And he was in grade 9. His name was Carson, and he was a sweet boy. It was a shock to everybody. And so the next day, students came to school who were in his alphabet. Hang on a second. Yeah, that's what the bell sounds like. Your phones are not ringing. So the first day after this happened, the Monday, this group of students were in his alphabetical cohort because half of the students were in school one day and half the next day. And the next day, this next group of students came by, and I said, you know, what do you guys want to do today? Like, it's a very sad day, and I don't feel like we should just do math on the last day of school. And this one boy, actually this boy here right in the front, he raised his hand and said, let's go in the garden. And I said, okay, does everybody want to do that? And they all wanted to go in the garden. So I just thought it was amazing, first of all, that this is what these kids decided they wanted to do on the day when they were very, very sad. And when we went to the greenhouse to get the supplies, I looked up on the left-hand side and there was one sunflower plant left. We had planted all of them, I thought, but there was one left. And I said, would you guys like to plant this sunflower in memory of Carson? And they said, yes. So if you look in the picture on the right here, there's a sea buckthorn plant on the left and another one on the right. And in the middle, that is the sunflower. Now, it was quite a bit smaller when they planted it. This picture was taken later. I have some pictures of them actually planting it, but they took turns like digging the hole and putting in the fertilizer and putting in the compost and planting it and covering it and watering it. And they wanted a picture with it. And they wanted me to post this picture on Teams so they could see it. And I just think it really says something when students are the ones that want that to happen. I think we only have a couple of minutes left. I thought if we have time. So what did you want to say, Chris?
I think we're out of time.
Are we? Okay, I can't see anybody's picture. Nobody's picture is showing up for me because I'm on the big screen. So Alicia, are we out of time?
Yeah, but there's time for Q&A if you'd like.
Sure.
So
My name is Ben.
Sorry, I'm gonna, yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't actually see the screen. So maybe what I'll do is escape here and go stop sharing my screen, and then I can see other people. For some reason, I couldn't really see anything. Okay.
Thank you for that wonderful presentation and really thoughtful ending. I don't know if there's been any questions in the chat. Himani will let us know. Otherwise, if anyone has any questions, you can either raise your hand virtually or in your picture, and I'll try to look and pick on people. Yeah.
So there is a question in the chat, and the question is, are there any options to provide food to school students in the school food program or the cafeteria? So there are two answers to that. One is that we are trying to make the garden a welcoming place. And I want to put a great big sign on the front gate that says snacking is encouraged. So the goal of the food forest in the garden at Lincoln High School is to try and find ways to encourage the students to go inside and to eat whatever they can find. And so that's the first answer. And the second answer is, with regard to the school program, the cafeteria is now closed. But that's one of the things we're going to be talking about in January, to see if we can, now that we have more capacity to produce food, I think we're at a level now where we can begin to offer food in the classroom or food in the cafeteria. And so I'd like to raise that with the kids in January.
Yes, unfortunately, there is no cafeteria. They can't find anybody to run it. But there is a school food program where we feed students at lunch hour and during break. And it's cooked as much as possible, cooked right in the cafeteria. And I would like to work a little bit more on that next year. I'd like to make that more of a connection for sure.
I see another question in the chat, but I also have a quick one. And I want to say, wow, what an amazing, I was holding back from engaging in the chat too much because I just think what you're doing, what you both are doing is really, I'm really wowed. So thanks for being such great community champions over there. And the understanding that, wow, your cafeteria is closed, the COVID realities, QP strikes, like we're having so many things that are impacting life in school. And so, through COVID, it's really interesting and beautiful to know that you're like, okay, we can go outside, so let's do that. What are some of the other things that, I think about cafeterias being closed, and what are you seeing as an impact for students who maybe don't have a lunch or are too busy to make a lunch? Like, we have socioeconomic issues to access lunch, but we also have time issues, right?
Yes, we have about 100 students who are on a breakfast and lunch program, a Feed a Hungry Student program, it's called. And they get morning snack and a meal at lunch, and we try to get as many students who we know that don't have food. Unfortunately, we see a huge line of students going to Tim Hortons every day. In fact, even the other day when it was pouring rain, there were probably about 100 students that walked there. Our church up the street offers a free lunch every Wednesday. So we're trying to fill in the gaps. And then when COVID first hit and there was no school, Chris and I were actually delivering food from the Hampton Food Basket on a weekly basis to students at home. So I'm sure that there are students that are falling through the cracks, unfortunately, and our resource team is really good at being able to determine who those kids are. And I would love it if we could fill in more of those gaps for sure.
I see that there are more questions in the chat, but we do need to move on. So Adam has the chance to speak. But if you're able to stay on for the Q&A at the end, we can have those questions asked at the end of the session. So thanks so much for being
Thank you
here.
very much. I'm going to go to class now, and I really appreciate what you're doing here. Keep up the good work.
Thanks, Laura.
Bye.
See ya. So next we'll hear from Adam Birchweaver. So Adam is an environmental educator and homesteader based in the Fredericton area. He has been involved in community-based initiatives and nonprofit organizations for the past 10 years. His passion is bringing food, environmentalism, and education together by supporting teachers to start school gardens, perennial food forests, and creating spaces where students can learn about and connect with nature. So I'll give the floor to you, Adam. Really looking forward to the presentation.
Thank you. Yes, thank you so much for having me. This is such an amazing event, and it's so important. It's so topical, and I'm thrilled to be here, really. And really just want to acknowledge too that I'm coming at you from Willistic territory. I'm based near Mactaquac, but I work kind of based in Fredericton and almost all of the province, really, because I'm working with an amazing organization called the Gaia Project right now, and the Gaia Project has the mandate to empower students across our wonderful province to become empowered to take climate action. And that's an SDG, Sustainable Development Goal number 13. So we're like laser focused on that one, but obviously they're all kind of interrelated. And yeah, so I mean, I have this amazing job, and I really, you know, have spent the last 10 years, I guess, working in the food kind of realm, I guess. So I'm just super passionate about it, and when I see people coming together like this, I just feel so much hope, and I feel so much excitement for what is to come. And you know, a lot of the time we focus on like all the things that are going wrong in the world, but I think it's always super important to think about like solutions and things we can actually do to you know, improve what's going on in the world. And that like one thing that a mentor of mine, Rob Avis, said to me, said in a video that he recently released, was talking about regenerating the planet by 2047. So we talk about like leveling our CO2 emissions by 2050 or whatever. But I love the idea of regenerating our planet by 2047. And his sort of pie in the sky idea was that, like, what if we had the U.S. military's budget to regenerate the planet by the sort of made up timeline of 2047? And he kind of went through all these speculative fiction sort of ideas of how that could actually happen. I strongly recommend looking into Rob Avis. He's a permaculture guy based out of Calgary, where I'm originally from. And that's really how I got tapped into all this, was through a concept called permaculture. And I feel like some of the speakers this morning kind of touched on that, with agroecology, regenerative agriculture, like looking at things holistically, systems design. All of these things to me are kind of permaculture in a lot of ways. And that is sort of what I imbue in the work that I do with schools. And so, yeah, I'm going to be talking about those projects that we're doing in schools. Super proud of what we've managed to do with the Gaia project. There's a huge amount of interest all across the province, all across the country, and in school gardens and in outdoor learning spaces and in food forests. And food forests is this element. It's a sort of key component, I think, of a good school garden. And as Laura and Chris had kind of talked about, you know, like they have a beautiful food forest school garden kind of going on, and there's so many benefits that can come out of it. So I'm going to touch on that in a second. So I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to just do a quick presentation on my food forest experience so far. So I like to refer to food forests as you know, perpetual harvest and learning labs, these spaces that we can actually learn about so many different things. And here's a great illustration of all of the things that can come out of a food forest. You know, food security was touched on, building up soil, CO2 sequestration, moderating local climate, reversing climate change. So in a sense, you know, when we plant a food forest, that, and especially when we do it at a school and we get the students to actually plant it, they are in a sense taking immediate climate action, which is like super awesome. So you know, in theory, I guess, yeah, in theory, this is what it kind of can look like. You know, it's quite whimsical in design oftentimes, because you're kind of designing things based off of what the natural environment already kind of looks like. Or I guess that's in practice, and in theory, this is kind of what it looks like from a 2D perspective when you're looking at a food forest. So the idea here is to have a multi-layered system that incorporates all kinds of different things, like, you know, a canopy layer, you've got shrubs, you've got root layers, you've got things that are climbing up your canopy layer, you've got cover crops, you've got you know, the list goes on, and really introducing, like, you know, things that grow already quite well in the area, like native species. I think of Jerusalem artichoke, which is ironically named because it's not from Jerusalem at all. It's actually from the Maritimes. It's actually from like Eastern Canada, at least North America, and it's this like extremely resilient sunflowery type of plant that produces these potato-y kind of tubers that can be roasted, and unfortunately also has the nickname of become called as fartichokes because it's high level of inulin. So beware, don't eat too many all at once. Yeah, and so I've had the wonderful fortune of working on several food forest projects to date, and the first one was the Oromato High School food forest, and this was done in collaboration with, well, the whole school, but specifically Brent Roney's essential skills class. So we're working with grade 11 and 12 students, and the idea here was to let them take a lot of ownership on this project by helping to design it. So I went in a few times to sort of talk about the principles of a food forest, and really let them kind of take ownership on it, and this is in a sense what they came up with. And as you can see here, there's like at least 40 or 50 different trees. There's all kinds of different fruit shrubs like currants and haskaps, sea buckthorn, aronia berries, high bush blueberries. You got climbers like grapes and hardy kiwi. And this was all done in a space that was otherwise just like lawn, straight up lawn. So we've transformed this space into what is going to be a productive area for food. It's going to address food security. It's going to be a learning lab, as I mentioned. And these are all mostly perennials, so they're going to be bouncing back year after year with minimal maintenance. And that's key. I mean, honestly, in the summer, that's kind of the hardest time for school gardens, because the students are gone. You have to rely maybe on your volunteers. So if you can put in things at the get-go that are you know, low maintenance, don't require too much in terms of thought, and then you multiply them when the students come back, and you know, you just keep on going, then that's kind of how you set yourself up for success. And this is a time-lapse video that I took on the day of planting. So whether or not any of these plants survive, they will, I hope. The experience was had by hundreds of students, and I think that's invaluable. I think that as Claire May said, like getting at the beginning, she said, like getting your hands dirty, getting dirt under your fingernails, that is the ultimate learning experience. And really out of this, like the students had a really wonderful learning experience. They just love to be outside too. So taking that same concept of kind of doing a mass coordination with the whole school, getting all the kids involved, taking that idea, we applied that to Nakuik Middle, where the principal there, Tanya Whitney, was totally on board for having a food forest in a space that had once been a ball diamond, and it was basically not used. That chain link backstop, which you can kind of see in the bottom image, was starting to kind of sort of fall apart. So thought, hey, that'd be cool if we fix that up a little bit and use that as actually a trellis to grow grapes and kiwis up. And then also, as you can see, the design here is all sort of based off of a Fibonacci sequence, which is kind of a math equation. So it's a great kind of starting point, a conversation anyway that the teachers can have as they kind of explain what this thing is. And the kids, again, they loved it. They loved moving wood chips. They loved planting these trees. They loved doing all of the work for this project. And again, like, I was just blown away by how engaged they were and how much they just loved the actual installation part of it. And that's what it kind of ended up looking like in the end. It's not perfect. It doesn't look like too much right now because a lot of the trees have gone dormant. You can't even see any, but I swear there are 50 trees in there ish, and there's about just as many fruit and there's about as many shrubs kind of around those trees. And the idea here is that over the years, we have a multi-phase kind of approach to this project. So we've kind of got it laid out so that the next phase we'll be doing cover cropping, we'll be doing some more sheet mulching, and really trying to get rid of just the monoculture grass that's there, and planting all kinds of different perennials in that space. And kind of where the stones are, the Stonehenge thing going on there, we're going to plant, they have a greenhouse which we're going to actually relocate into that space, and also have like an outdoor classroom kind of thing going on in that area. And really none of this would be a success if you didn't have an engaged sort of teacher base, I guess. And really that's what we were lucky to have here at NACOIC. All of these fine teachers are going to have, committed to incorporating these, different kinds of activities into their classes, and really love the idea of getting their students outside more. And Andover, again, is another one. So just to kind of show you that we've been working with high school all the way down to elementary. And in this one, we did this, we planted some fruit trees. They already have a beautiful school garden going on there. So, anyone can add a few more trees. It doesn't have to be all in one bang. And we also set up compost. So in this case, this is a time-lapse video of kids building a compost over an hour, compressed into just a few seconds. And we did a sort of multi-layered hot compost. You can see here, this kid is smashing rotten apples that I collected from our homestead, and then just to add in an extra bit of nitrogen into the hot compost, and really the kids just loved it. They were like in this picture here, they have we got kids going through the vermicomposting bin, collecting worms and vermicast, and so we kind of I'm creating an activity here called Compost Quest, which is really just gives them, it's more of like an organized way to get kids helping to build that hot compost. And there's some post activities they do where they monitor how hot it actually gets, and they get to sort of learn about how bacteria helps to break things down and stuff. So it's a great learning opportunity. And so if there's any teachers watching this, they might be wondering, like, how does this all work? Well, generally, I'll go and actually do a site visit at the school, and then kind of come up with a design. And as I mentioned kind of at the beginning, I like to incorporate permaculture design into these. So working with what's already there, inviting nature back in, and just looking for patterns that are already there, like how much, where does water pool up in certain areas and stuff like that. And then implementation, and then kind of like leave them with a framework of how to sort of take care of the project over the next few years. But I'm not going anywhere, and I'm here to sort of support those projects in the years to come. And before I end off the slideshow, I just want to touch on a couple of resources that I've tapped into, and maybe you can tap into as well. The school garden curriculum has been awesome, especially if you're And I think there's one for high school as well, but it basically has a breakdown of a bunch of different lesson plans that teachers can use for all kinds of subjects, also age ranges. And the Gaia's Garden, nothing to do with the Gaia project, just happens to share the same name. The Gaia's Garden is the ultimate sort of manual on how to start food forests and how they work, and how to sort of get one started. And same with the other book here, the Edible Forest Garden from Dave Jack. So that's essentially, I'm going to stop sharing here. Yeah, so that's basically what is going on. I feel like food forests, school gardens are starting to pop up all over the province, which is awesome. And again, it kind of ties back to this idea of, let's not just try to get to the baseline of what we can do in our society as far as saving our planet. Let's try to actually lay the framework to regenerate the planet. And I feel like we can do that way faster than a lot of people actually think. So that's everything. That's all I got to say.
Thanks so much, Adam. That was great. Thank you. So our final presentation is from Leola Langille. Leola, I'll wait till she gets on the screen. All right, there we go. Leola is MB educated at UNB and St. Thomas University. Leola is a parent, volunteer, teacher, and advocate, and has been married for more than 30 years. Congratulations. She is passionate about gardening, volunteering, knitting, beachcombing, family, and community. Leola is an avid traveler, gardener, reader, and cook. She has been volunteering in public schools across North America for 26 years, held positions on board of directors for 20 years, and has been employed in the public sector in New Brunswick since 2009. Leola has been in the role of community school coordinator at Gary Elementary Community School for 3 years. The floor is yours, Leola.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I'd also like to acknowledge that I work and play on the unceded traditional territories of the Wolastoqey peoples. And as Alicia said, my name is Leola Langille. I'm 0.5 FTE at Gary Elementary Community School. I'm also I have been volunteering on Gary Community Food Smart for 7 years and Gary Homeschool Association for 14 years. So just want to disclose those involvements as I go through the presentation, that I'm involved in Gary school food in multiple roles. So Gary Elementary Community School is an Anglophone school district west. It's a K-5 school with embedded Head Start program. So we have 4-year-olds in the building as well, about 30. So we end up with about 170 enrolled students per year plus Head Start. So pre-pandemic, the school year 2019-2020, Gary's food services included a cafeteria cooked self-serve breakfast 5 days a week. It included a hot lunch cafeteria service 4 days a week, because our corner of the district has only half days for students on Fridays. So they go home just before lunch on Fridays. We had a student food prep club 1 day a week when we had salad bar days on the hot lunch school menu, the food menu. We had compost club daily that was student operated. We had food literacy cooking sessions that ran after school with family involvement, delivered in 8-week blocks. And those students for the after school food literacy were identified by school admin as either being food insecure or at risk thereof. So all of these programs were delivered by volunteers. Then in addition to these main programs, we had the backpack programs, about approximately a dozen every Friday would take a backpack home. And we also partnered with Gary Community Food Smart. We have raised garden beds as well at the school. So in August 2020, when the school closed for COVID in March, August saw the development of the school operational plan. So the focus, how do we keep our volunteer operated food services intact and follow COVID-19 regulations? So we were able to do that with a very comprehensive section of an operational plan. And so the key driver to keep the cafeteria open was the need. We're a rural school. We have a lot of low income families. We have a lot of lower socioeconomic status families. It was essential to keep the food services at a low cost, which is what happens when it's all volunteer delivered. There are no labor costs. So the biggest COVID-19 restrictions for the food handling, all items served to in the building to staff or students had to be individually packaged. That was a huge variation from what we were doing, because the students were all self-serving. The building would be closed to the general public except for the volunteers who were delivering food services. Masks had to be worn at all times, and the sanitization protocols had to be followed. Social distancing had to be maintained, and the single classroom bubbles were sacrosanct. There was no mixing of the bubbles in any way. Even all the movement within the building was altered such that there was never any more than one class bubble in the hallway at any point in time. And for that school year 2021, when we opened, the only time the bubbles were in the same space at the same time as they were outside at recess, but they weren't even on the same section of the playgrounds. There was no intersection of bubbles inside or out for that first school year. So the breakfast program adaptations that we did were, we went from a self-serve cafeteria service to a grab and go basket based in the classroom. The primary reason for switching the format completely was because the cafeteria in our school isn't big enough to maintain the social distancing between the bubbles, to maintain the bubbles intact and serve in the limited time that you have to serve the breakfast program. And for that school year, 2021, there were increased number of classrooms because the number of children in each class was decreased. So that meant we had 10 classrooms. So for breakfast for grab and go, it necessitated, in order to make the format work, it necessitated acquiring another fridge, installing it on the second floor of the school. So then there was a fridge for each team, the K-2 team, the 3-5 team, and one shelf in each fridge was dedicated to each classroom, no sharing of food in between the shelves or the classes. And the dry goods, the breakfast dry goods were all kept in a bin in the classroom, and it was all served by staff only. And so the biggest menu changes were we could only serve individually packaged items and whole fruit. Also, there was a parent volunteer who did a fundraiser to provide every student in the school with a reusable water bottle, because it was decided that the recycling program for juice containers and drink boxes, any recyclable for money containers, that program would have to be suspended as well, to avoid touching containers that someone else had their mouth on. So in the end, we serve safely to all of the students every single day, 5 days a week, a breakfast, a healthy breakfast that follows policy 711. What we did notice is that there was less variety because we could only serve whole fruit. We couldn't serve any fruit that we normally would have cut up and served. We had far more garbage from the packaging of the individual serving size, and we were not composting. However, we are safely serving breakfast into the second year of the pandemic to all of the students every day. And one of the unexpected benefits is that by having the breakfast in the classroom, more students are actually accessing it and not having to make the trip through the entire building to the cafeteria. They're just quickly, the students who were reluctant to do that are just quickly grabbing something out of the basket. So that's the breakfast adaptations. The hot lunch is operated by Gary Home School Association. It's a not-for-profit parent volunteer organization. They've been operating in the school for more than 50 years. And they have a memorandum of agreement with the district to provide a hot lunch service. And it's all volunteer, organized, operated, planned, prepared, and delivered without any labor costs. That's what keeps the lunch price affordable. So how to deliver it and fall within the requirements of the COVID-19 operational plan. 3-compartment containers with lids were purchased because everything has to be served individually packaged. This necessitated purchasing bus racks, like food service bus racks with the trays to fill them in order to deliver the trays of sealed containers to the classrooms, because the bubbles again had to remain intact. So the only way to do that was to serve food in the classrooms. So the grant was applied for and received to purchase the additional equipment to serve a totally different style during COVID. And so bowls with lids were purchased for soup days. Unfortunately, the salad bar and the student food prep club are suspended until COVID is a bit more under control. The classrooms receive the bus rack full of trays to their door by a staff member. The staff member within the classroom takes the trays in, serves the kids, returns the tray full of dirty dishes to the hallway. So there's no contact with the student classroom bubble at all by the volunteers. And so what we've noticed is the students and the volunteers, well, and staff as well, are commenting on the diminished or lost contact with the volunteers. And because the part of the operational plan is in order to have the volunteers in the building, they arrive at the door, they check, they're signed in and recorded when they come in, they sanitize, they go directly to the kitchen, they work their shift, they go directly out of the building as soon as the shift is done, which is a huge departure from the social connections that we had in the past. And then the second biggest thing we've noticed, the students are missing the hands-on, like Adam said, with the gardens, get your hands dirty. This is the same thing with food prep, preparing the meal together, and then self-serving their own serving is something that they're missing. However, we are continuing to feed fresh, healthy, low-cost food 4 days a week and not violating any class bubble integrity, not putting the vulnerable population at risk in any way. So that's the main thing. The food literacy sessions are an unexpected benefit of changing the procedure, because before we were operating them after school to families who had been identified as food insecure. So with the building closed to the general public and no after school activities, we redesigned it and delivered it still with all volunteer operated to every single classroom one Friday morning. And it was the first time slot of the day. And so every single child received the food literacy session. Every single student prepared their own food, prepared their own snack, and then ate it with their classroom bubble in the cafeteria. So the bubble was maintained. And the unexpected reaction was that these kids went home from school on Friday at lunchtime. They were less than 2 hours from the end of their food literacy session. They were so excited. Some of them actually saved their snacks to take home. And then they spent all weekend joyfully cooking with their families because they took home a binder full of nutritional information and recipes. So that format ended up being better than the pre-pandemic format that we use. So going forward, we're going to continue to deliver that program to every single class in the school instead of just those who are identified as food insecure. I think it also took any stigma away from anybody who participated after school. Nobody knows who's food insecure with the new format. For the backpack program, we are no longer filling backpacks for the families. We attempted to do so when the school closed in March of 2020, and it became so logistically difficult to connect staff with the local residents because the staff are not in the local community, that we connected all of these families directly with the food bank, the Oromato Food Bank, and that ended up meeting the needs of the families better than a Friday backpack. And so those families have stayed connected the entire time of the pandemic with the Oromato Food Bank. So in this school year, 21-22, we have not reconnected the backpack program out of the school. And the same with the Food Smart program. The Food Smart program used to operate out of the school office in full partnership. The parents and staff and community members could pop into the school office and order a Food Smart bag, return the reusable grocery bag. And that's not being done anymore at all. The Food Smart program is completely virtual payments and ordering, and contactless pickup at the local Lions Club. So for the food services, like the bottom line, we are safely feeding all of the students because we can't lose sight of the fact that they're our vulnerable population right now. They're currently unvaxxed. And even when the vaccines do roll out, which will probably take the entire rest of this school year, we still have 4-year-olds in the building with Head Start. So we'll still have an unvaccinated population at this point in time with the vaccines for 5 to 11-year-olds. But we have safely delivered all of the food programs. It looks different, but no one's going hungry. And we're doing it in such a way that none of the staff or volunteers at risk either, because that's also the second aspect of not wanting to cause any operational disruptions by continuing to serve food. So what we're looking at now, trying to look forward to post-pandemic, is how do we reestablish all the connections? Because we've realized that a lot of the social connections were with preparing the food. The students have deep connections to to the community members because they're preparing food with them in our kitchen, and then the food is either being eaten directly by them, or they're actually preparing food for the other classrooms, for the student prep club. So how do we reintegrate that back in with post-pandemic concerns? I think we're starting to think post-pandemic, but I think it's too early yet to figure it out. I see the question, how's the breakfast program funded?
I do have to cut you off there, but
Okay.
that can bring us straight into the Q&A. So
Okay.
I guess
Yeah, I'm at the end
that
anyway.
question right away.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, Leola, for that. And yeah, so there's a few questions in the chat, I think. I think Himani will help us go over those, but you can answer this question straight away.
Sure.
And then
funding?
anyone else who has questions can just raise their hand and we'll get all those questions asked.
Sure.
Yeah.
The primary funder at our school has been Breakfast Club of Canada. Secondary funding is President's Choice Children's Charity, and the kitchen is operated in partnership with the Gary Home and School Association, because the non-food costs are a high portion of the budget to actually operate a licensed kitchen and keep it operating. Those expenses are high. They're exceptionally high since COVID started. The prices of some of the cleaning products for operating the dishwasher and the sanitization, they're actually 3 times the price like one bottle is 3 times the price of the price we paid pre-pandemic. So there's private fund, it's all privately funded. And we have some community donations as well to fund the breakfast program. Were there any other questions?
We had one other question from the earlier section. This was, I think Chris is still on the line. but this can also be posed to the other speakers as well. And the question was about sort of investments and what sort of investment in terms of paid staff or volunteers are required to make this happen. And I think that was more specific to the school garden, and then when it went to the selling part of the produce, then the idea of selling the produce, and then also sharing some of the money that was made amongst the students and others, and how that would sort of work, and sort of the challenges that the individual who was asking about it, they're having is in terms of low capacity at school. So how to sort of work around those sort of challenges.
I think the answer is it requires a considerable investment of volunteer labor to get these things going. We are at the point where we could contemplate applying for summer student money next year, but it really wouldn't have been viable last year or the year before. So seed grant would be one chance, one thing to look at.
And yeah, just to add to that, in terms of the investment, if you want to get like a small food forest part of your garden, like you can get a Rising Youth grant, $1,500. You can get like 20, 30 trees with a bunch of currants or something. You know, you can get a lot with $1,000. You know.
I see there's another question in the chat, but Terry, you have your hand up. So do you want to ask your question?
Thank you. This one's for Adam as well. First of all, it's really good to see you again. I lost track of you after you left the Ville. We met at the Food for All a few years ago in Fredericton. And since that time, I've been stewarding a community food forest here on behalf of Roots to Table. And the idea is it's right in central town, so it makes an ideal outdoor classroom and the ideal place for other schools around, which we're also involved with, to learn how to do this. What I'm finding that's not changing is that the community is now aware that there's such a thing as a food forest. It comes from something called permaculture. But they're not really engaging in any interest in the permaculture part of it. The layering, the whole, I get up there and all excited because it's a learning experience for me, but that doesn't seem to be translating. And I'm getting lots of people come out to look, they think it's beautiful. Others will come and do the particular grow or the particular plant we're doing at any particular time. No problem to get that done. But I can't seem to get the engagement in the permaculture part. So I'm just curious, you got any ideas on how to approach that with like, again, your general community?
Yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one, but like it's kind of like this concept that is slowly seeping into public awareness, and I feel like it has a bunch of different names, as we've kind of learned today. Systems design, regenerative agriculture, all of the like agroecology. So like there's a bunch of different names, but if like the biggest thing is getting a signage, like signs that the public have access to, like if they're walking through, if there's like a public right of way, and having these beautiful, like not even like all that special, just a sign that explains what's going on in the most basic and simple way, and that'll kind of just be like one sort of, it's like welcoming people to sort of learn more. So I think a sign with explaining like what not necessarily permaculture is, but what the food forest is and the functions of it would be, and then people would be like, "Oh, what's that?" And then if they're interested enough, then they can Google it, and then they'll go down the wormhole on it,
Yeah, I've done all kinds, like I said, over the 3 years here, I've been into the local, we have a local pub magazine that goes out to 16,000 homes. And I've had the little chart that you showed there, and I had it as it pertains to ours. And I'm we had a booth at the, what do you call it there? The farmer's market. So I had a little info booth there, and I have all my little articles showing the pictures. And again, people look and they see it, and they don't necessarily, they think it's all wonderful, but there's no necessary connection to want to learn more about the permaculture. But having said that, you're absolutely right. And that is something that I might even pick your brain on, because I have a budget for signage right now, and I'm looking into, I have a beautiful idea, like you said, the kind of the display one that will say what the food, the roots to table community food forest, boom, and then with a nice visual on it that is attractive but simple enough so people are engaged enough, like you say, to say, oh, this is it here. Because you're right on the money. I'm like, we're not at a point where I'm still got little pegs and string pathways. So people are also hesitant. They don't know what is what, and that's got to come with the signage project, which will be next. So anyway, thank you. Yeah, that's really it's quite something. And see, we're involved with, I have a daycare that's attached to that. We had a vegetable garden right next door to it. Plus we also have we're working with King Street Elementary School. So my idea here, the core idea is to get this one food forest, the one that everybody can come and learn from and take back and, you know, make their own, like you say, in their own particular environment, school environment. So hopefully that'll be, the signage will come next, and I'll see where we go from there. Thank you.
And just one quick sort of comment, like Mario said earlier, education is key. So when you teach a student how to like about composting, they'll go home and they'll be like, Mom or Dad, why don't we compost? And then their parents will be like, oh, maybe we should start.
I did have that happen with our strawberries. I took some plants to the farmer's market and did have a family buy one, because the little one went home from the daycare and told them what she did at the garden, blah, blah, blah. So the family got involved in it. So to me, that was a success. And the other thing that happened was, this one blew my mind. There was a little one that goes to the daycare, went home and asked her grandparents for a garden for her birthday. So when that happened, she was 4, like this little one. So I'm going to build on that as we go into the, you know, that whole, like you said, my whole goal here is to get this in food literacy right into the provincial curriculum. So, you know, I'm going to be at this a bit, I know. But anyway, yeah, that's a real good idea right there, is to take it and bring it in that way. Thank you.
Thanks so much for the questions and for your thoughtful answers. We don't have much more time for any more questions, but any of you speakers, if you want to like engage with the questions in the chat box, you can do that as well if you want to answer. Right now, I've got some updates to give you all on what Food for All NB has going on with school food. So I've got 3 updates, and I'll try to make it quick so that we can go take a nice relaxing lunch break. So the first one is on who's who in the school food zoo. I see a lot of familiar faces here. So most of you probably already know about this project, but what happened with it, I'll kind of go over what happened with who's who in the school food zoo and where we're going now. So as I said, some of you know, we had some convenings over the summer as part of the Who's Who in the School Food Zoo project. And that was meant to bring people together to get to know one another, people that are working in school food, and to know what projects are going on and what is going on in New Brunswick in terms of school food. But the event we had in October was postponed, canceled. Oh, did someone have something to say? No, okay, someone's mic was on, no problem. But due to COVID-19 outbreaks that were out of control at the beginning of October, we thought it was best to postpone that because a lot of education staff had a lot of other stressors and other public staff were really busy at that time. So we decided to resume at a later date. So what we're focusing on now instead, after talking with a few stakeholders on what they think about moving forward this way, is focusing on more web-based resources for school food actors. So some of the things we're working on are a landing page on our website that's dedicated to school food, making updates to our resource directory with high quality, up-to-date NB-based resources, And then hopefully coming up with a way for you folks to come together and communicate and network whenever works for you online. So we're working on those things right now, and hopefully that kind of fills the gap until everyone's available and ready to meet kind of on a Zoom call for conversations and next steps and moving forward together. So the second update is about a discussion that we're holding next Monday. So, well, this Monday coming up on the 29th. If you don't already know, this is about the Coalition for Healthy School Food. So the Coalition for Healthy School Food is a growing network of over 170 nonprofit member organizations from across the country that advocate for public investment and federal standards for a universal cost-shared school food program that would see all children having daily access to healthy food at school. So if you were at the conference yesterday in the school food session, there seemed to be a lot of energy around this. So luckily we have a discussion coming up. So on Monday, November 29th from 1 to 2 p.m., we're going to hold a space for school food actors to learn more about what a chapter of the coalition might do and how action might look in New Brunswick. The session will be 1 hour, and there's going to be a presentation by a coalition chapter coordinator in BC. And she's going to come to tell us about how that worked, how things work for them. Then there's going to be a Q&A and a discussion to see where people's energy is in New Brunswick and how people want to stay connected to the coalition. So if you're interested in that, Rawson will share the link to register in the chat. And finally, the last update, we've got an exciting announcement to make. So as you would have also heard yesterday during the school food session, Jessie Veenstra mentioned that Food for All NB will be hosting a farm to school learning circle. The first circle will be hosted at the beginning of next year. So we're thinking around February. And what a farm to school learning circle is an 18-month process to build, strengthen, and expand on local food to school movements and initiatives within a community. So we are going to be hosting one for Southeast New Brunswick because there's a lot going on already. There's a lot of schools in the region that have received farm to school grants in the past. So we're going to start there. And if you're interested in knowing more about that, there's also going to be a link shared in the chat to stay informed on any of these updates. So it's just a quick little form to fill out saying, yes, I'm interested. Please keep me up to date on any of these updates. And if you have any questions at all, you can always send me an email, and that will also be shared in the chat. So that is all for this session. Thanks everyone for coming. I hope you learned something new, and I hope that you got some inspiration through these wonderful presentations.